The night began with the sound of money crystal-to-crystal cameras clicking a ballroom band, keeping a safe beat. The Alohan Group gala turned the hotel into a roar. Down the corridor, behind a door that sighed on a tired hinge, Micah Reyes scrubbed a gold-plated sink. Bleach bit his nose. Paper towels rasped. The faucet hissed. A duct hummed. For a moment, the mechanical choir drowned the worry in his chest. His phone buzzed against the soap dispenser. He wiped his hands on his uniform and looked. "If you keep picking up late, we will report to Social Services CPS." Micah closed his eyes. Trains swallow minutes. Extra shifts dissolve between stations. Leo hates aftercare. The buzzing lights the cracked crayon bin, the aide who says 5 minutes until it becomes 40. Keep the job to keep the boy. He set the phone face down, rinsed the sink until water ran quiet, and took one more breath of bleach. Ava would have mocked that smell. His late wife loved rosin and old floors. She could hear a room's bones. He walked out. From the ballroom, a waltz spilled into the hallway. Micah tracked the beat without meaning to. Left, right, left. Dad Leo's voice flicked from a head small as a coin under a couch. Micah saw his son at the end of the corridor toes on the line where carpet met stone. Leo was 8, all elbows and loyalty. He should have been in the staff room with a sandwich and a comic. Curiosity had tugged him toward the light. "Back here," Bud Micah said, keeping his voice even. "We don't wander. It's one of our rules." "But listen," Leo whispered. "Music." A different tune floated from a glass-walled room near the ballroom, tinny brave a music box forcing itself to sing. The notes raised the hairs on Micah's arms. Inside, a girl stood with her back to the door. 2 adults watched a nanny with shoes that squeaked a guard whose radio hissed. The girl turned the key with slow care, and her feet answered with the smallest shift of weight. Heel rocked to toe as if the air had a pulse only she could hear. Leo pressed his nose to the glass. "She's dancing." "Don't crowd," Micah murmured. The way the girl braced for sudden sound tugged at him. The world had not been gentle to her. You could hear it in the centimeters she rationed. From the ballroom, applause surged. Isadora Alohan's name rode the microphones. 2 board members passed murmuring about the IPO No More Family Drama. Behind them, a woman walked without touching anyone, and everyone parted anyway. Micah registered sound first heels measuring the floor in exact clicks. Isadora looked toward the glass room and paused. Leo's hand found Micah's. "Can we go? It's loud." "In a second," he said, squeezing back. "We're leaving. Right after." The girl turned. Her eyes met Leo's, then Micah's. She didn't flinch. The melody warped. The tiny key scraped. Her shoulders crept toward her ears, the ache of almost right. Micah lifted his hands a little, palms open. No pressure, no words, just rhythm. "If you step on my shoes," he said softly, "I won't tell anyone." The guard shifted. The nanny's shoes squeaked closer. The melody was fading. Micah took one slow step and waited. The girl placed her hand in his. Small, dry, warm. She moved once shy weight forward until her sneaker rested on the toe of his work shoe. Left, right, left. He barely moved, just enough to suggest a path. Phones rose, screens brightened. A janitor touching the heiress, a guest said. "That's a lawsuit." Leo went still. The guard's radio crackled. "Miss Alohan let go now," the nanny said. The girl didn't. She followed Micah's tiny sway like a leaf, finally finding current. Step away from Miss Alohan, the guard's shout thudded the air. 2 men in hotel jackets appeared. A manager, breath of mint and panic, grabbed Micah's elbow. "Sir, this is not appropriate. Sir, let go." Micah loosened his fingers but didn't drop her hand. "It's okay," he murmured to the girl, to Leo, to himself. "We're just listening." Her lips parted no word, the ghost of one. The ballroom doors swung and a ribbon of applause threaded into the smaller room. At the threshold stood Isadora Alohan. Even from here, Micah heard the crowd shift when she didn't smile. Her heels stopped clicking. Silence cooled the corridor. Micah let go. The manager's didn't. Hands closed on his forearms. A camera light bloomed white. The flash stung. Leo's breath hitched, then steadied that brave swallow Micah dreaded more than tears. As they pulled him back, the music box gave one last stubborn note and quit. The girl flinched and looked at Micah as if to ask a question no adult could hear. He didn't fight. He had a job to keep a boy to pick up on time tomorrow, where someone in an office with metal chairs would start a file with his name on it. His heart counted left, right, left. Across the room, Isadora's gaze cut through phones and opinions. Her expression was practiced ice, but behind it, something flickered. "Sir." "Step away." The guard pressed in his ear. They yanked the door open. Air whooshed. Hallway noise crashed back laughter, a PA clearing its throat, the metallic sigh of the service elevator. The last thing he saw was the girl's hand floating where his had been, fingers curled around a rhythm he had not stolen and could not give back. He didn't see the phone recording from the corner. He didn't see the headline forming on guests' lips, but he felt the moment harden around him like wet cement. And from the ballroom threshold, Isadora Ilawan watched him go, face unreadable hand resting briefly at her heart, as if a small spring had begun to wind. Morning broke in alerts. Isadora's phone rattled on marble while the espresso machine hissed awake. A video, auto, played without permission. Unknown. Janitor grabs Elowen Iris at Gala, a chipper anchor said. Grainy audio spilled, clinks a security shout, the rustle of a dress. Freeze frame. Red circles. Arrows. She muted it. Control kept ringing anyway. From the next room came the tiny click of a music box key. 3 faithful notes tried to steady the air. Left, right, left. Keep the story or the story keeps you, she thought. By 7, the board made a hard rectangle around the table. Paper whispered. The speakerphone turned breath into static. Let's call it a director said. Liability. Of the janitor, another asked. Of the child. Every ripple at home hits the stock. The IPO roadshow starts in 8 weeks. Perception is valuation. Isadora kept her palms flat. We will not call my daughter a liability, she said, pitch low so the words would land instead of splinter. Legal cleared his throat. Words aside, risk remains. If we're seen as unable to manage internal matters, how do we manage a public company? A specialized Swiss program is prudent, structured private. Investors will nod. Specialized sounded clean. Private sounded like silence dressed as care. If the IPO fails, another director added, that's 9,000 jobs. Headlines vanish. Layoffs echo. Protect the company, protect the people, protect the girl she thought. Choose 2. Her brother's name flashed on her phone. She let it buzz against the folder. PR, she asked. A woman with a radio voice said, pivot to an Ilawan Foundation initiative, Arts for Neurodivergent Youth. NDAs for all. No more candid anything. Emphasize licensed therapists, not surprise janitors. Surprise stung. Isadora pressed her thumbnail into her index finger. We don't use children as absolution, she said. Not even mine. Silence. Then legal soft control, the variable. Move the child out of frame. Even through the door she could hear the faint tick when Sierra's key slipped a millimeter. Reconvene at 10, she said. I need 10 minutes. She stepped into the hall. The elevator hummed low. Across town, the hotel manager's office smelled like toner and cheap cologne. A printer clicked out 3 copies. Micah read the incident report as if it were about a stranger. Employee approached minor guest. Security intervened. Viral exposure risk? Sign here, the manager said. 2 weeks suspension without pay while we review. We must act decisively. You understand. I understand rent. I understand CPS. I understand cereal with water when milk runs out, Micah thought. He signed. The pen scratched carbon paper. The manager slid an NDA across as if handing him a tissue. In case media calls, no statements about guests or procedures. And between us, they could sue. Don't be a headline. A bell dinged. A luggage cart rattled. Micah's phone buzzed. He let it go to voicemail. Mr. Reyes, the landlord, said coins in his tone. You're 60 days past due. If we don't receive payment by Friday, locks change Monday. Nothing personal. The fluorescent hum pressed into his skull. Left, right, left. Ava's voice in memory. Breathe with the room. In the penthouse, Isadora paused at Sierra's door and listened. Key, slip catch. The tune sputtered, tried again. She knocked once. Breakfast. No answer, but the key stopped. The door opened an inch. Strawberry shampoo and metal oil drifted out. Graphite smudged Sierra's fingers lines drawn for rhythm when language won't come. If I fix the noise out there, I'll break the music in here, Isadora thought. If I do nothing, they'll break us both. Back in the conference room, coffee lids snapped. A stir stick ticked glass like a metronome. We're aligned, the chair asked. No one said exile, they said Swiss. Therapeutic, stabilizing. We'll announce a pilot program, Isadora said. We won't parade my child, and we won't send her to a mountain and call it love. Investors will ask what changed between last night and this morning. She could say nothing changed. She could say everything did. A small hand trusted a stranger more than a headline trusted a human. Her brother's name flashed again. She answered. Choose the Swiss school, he said. If you don't, the board may push to delay or replace you. I can defend process, not sentiment. Izzy, I'm your brother first. Keep her safe. She looked at the glass wall, the city mirrored in it like a second, colder world. Send the risk memos, she said. And call security. I want every camera angle from last night. Eyes lifted around the table, and the name of the employee who touched Sierra's hand. Why PR asked. Because circles and arrows aren't the only stories, Isadora said. If I'm deciding my daughter's life, I want the truth in her eyes, not the noise in their captions. Across town, Micah took the stairs because the elevator hummed mean. On a concrete step, his phone trembled in his palm. Another message, the school office tone bright as a bell. If tardiness continues, we must notify CPS. Leo needed dinner. Leo needed a dad who wasn't a headline. The stairwell door banged. A housekeeper hurried past cartwheels, squeaking radio clipping out the weather. Rain tonight, a voice said. Wind advisory. Build-in wind, Micah thought. He didn't know a woman behind glass had just thought the same words. Isadora ended the call. 10 minutes, she told the board. Then we brief investors. Her voice didn't shake. Her hands did quiet as a music box when the key is nearly out of turns. Security texted footage compiling. Employee identified. A name loaded on her screen. She read it once, twice. Somewhere down the hall, the faintest tick a spring beginning to wind again. For the first time since the clip aired, curiosity stepped ahead of fear. What did Sierra hear in that man's silence? The apartment spoke before anyone did. The radiator ticked like an anxious metronome. A pot breathed on the stove water, worrying noodles into a slow roll. The neighbor's TV bled a laugh track thin as paper through the wall. Micah opened the chicken flavor packet and watched the powder drift. Salt and something like comfort. Leo pushed open the window 2 inches. Sirens threaded the night, a low wail finding their kitchen like it always did. He set 2 bowls on the table. The porcelain clinked. The sound made him glance at his father for permission, as if even noise had rules now. Eat while it's hot, Micah said, trying for light landing on tired. Leo lifted his fork, then held it in the air. Dad. Why do people look at us like we're trash? The question hung there with the steam. Micah felt the words settle between them, heavier than rent. He heard a bottle cap roll somewhere in the hall and click to a stop. They don't know us, he said. That's all? Leo snorted the way he did when pushed past polite. The kid at school knew me. He said, Your dad cleans toilets for my dad. The boy's voice hardened as he quoted. I told him my dad keeps places from smelling like his mouth. He shoved me. I hit back, twice. Micah stared at the noodles. Left, right, left. Choose your next beat? Did you start it? No, but I finished it, Leo said, then softened a little. I know, that's not the point. The phone vibrated against the salt shaker. Micah turned it over. Mr. Reyes, the principal, said on speaker, careful practiced. We need to partner on Leo's choices. If the aggression continues, we must notify CPS. I don't want to, but policy is policy. Policy is a room without windows, Micah thought. He cleared his throat. Thank you, sir. We'll talk. Leo stared into his bowl. If they come, do I have to live with strangers? No, Micah said fast, then, slower, anchoring each word. No. We keep each other. That's our rule, remember. Leo nodded, but his fork stayed still. The radiator ticked again. Micah wanted to give his son a speech about dignity, about how work is work, and a mop doesn't tell the truth about a person. But speeches need air and room, and both were in short supply. He reached for the only tool he trusted. Listen, Micah said, and tapped the table with his knuckles 3 steady beats. The same quiet pattern he'd used since Leo was 3, and the night felt too big. Left, right, left. Leo tapped back. The tightness in his shoulders eased half an inch. You always do that, he said, almost a smile. Like a secret code. It's not a secret, Micah said. It's ours. He tried a noodle. Lukewarm already. He swallowed and felt the starch sit. Ava would have laughed at their technique. Turn down the water before it boils over, she used to say, dusting rosin from her hands, listening for the moment the heat stopped helping. He could still hear the scratch of her shoes on old wood the way the floor learned her name. The phone vibrated again, the landlord voice like coins clinking. 2 months behind Mr. Reyes. Friday or the locks change Monday. Nothing personal, everything personal, Micah thought. He thanked him anyway. After they ate, he washed the bowls by hand because the faucet's hiss filled the apartment with a sound that wasn't worry. Across the city, the penthouse didn't squeak or hiss. It whispered, wind whirring the glass. A dishwasher sighing into sleep. Isadora sat at her desk, a tumbler of melting ice tracking time she couldn't afford to lose. On her laptop, a waveform weighted pale blue against dark. She hit play. Her daughter's therapist spoke in a voice that never startled. Sierra has not lost speech completely, the recording said. But if the world keeps asking her to be less herself, she will choose silence to survive. Do not confuse coping with cure. In the background of the recording, a pen clicked once. Paper shifted. Isadora flinched at the click. She rolled her shoulders back, pressed the spacebar, and the room fell quiet. The silence had a sound. It had weight. She opened another window, security footage. No music here, just the ambient hum of HVAC, the thud of a door, a guard's radio crackle. She watched the glass-walled room from 3 angles. A man in a faded uniform. A girl with a music box. The man's hands in the air, empty. The first brush of trust. Her breath hitched, and even that she tried to control. Play. Pause. Rewind. There. The smallest thing, the man waited. He let Sierra set the pace. He didn't fill the silence. He didn't sell it. Her therapist's voice again in memory. Some people are noise. Some people are room. Isadora closed the footage and opened the company HR portal. Keystrokes precise. The search bar blinked like a patient question. Reyes Micah. His file loaded with a bureaucratic sigh. Position housekeeping night shift. Previous construction union temp part-time dance studio assistant. A line further down caught her emergency contact sister, Arnen. Marital status, widowed, dance, construction. The absurd exactness of that pairing tugged at something old in her, her husband's hands calloused from building sets and soft from telling stories. Sierra, 3 years old, clapping to the beat of a cheap metronome because he'd made it a game. Grief has its own sound, she thought. A hollow drum that never fully stops. She closed the file. PR had left a draft release in her inbox subject line bright as a carnival. Elowen Foundation launches arts for neurodivergent youth. Bullet points clicked in her head. Licensed therapists, evidence-based, privacy protections, impact metrics, a neat bridge from scandal to virtue. We don't use children as absolution, she had said in the meeting. But what if absolution is the only currency investors accept? Jobs versus judgment. Headlines versus home. Choose two. Her brother texted Swiss placement interviews ready. Media will cool down. Don't improvise. Don't improvise. The words scraped. She pressed the side of the glass to her forehead and felt the echo of ice. Her eyes drifted back to the paused frame where the janitor Reyes had stood, the exact posture of someone who had learned where to be so others could breathe. She thought of the board's eyes measuring risk, not people. She thought of the clip's comments, equal parts pity and poison. She thought, too, of roadshows and payroll and the way 9,000 paychecks sound when they land each Friday, the soft thud that keeps a city from turning on itself. Control, the variable legal had said. Control the story, PR would say. Control yourself, her father's voice used to say, softer than all of them. She opened a new email to her chief communications officer and deleted it. She picked up her phone and put it down. She pressed her palm flat to the desk and let the wood's cool patience steady her. This isn't charity, she told herself. It can't be. Charity is soft and soft breaks. This must be design. This must be control. She dialed a number she hadn't memorized an hour ago. The hotel's general line clicked, transferred, clicked again. Human resources, a weary voice said. This is Isadora Elowen, she said, the hum of the city seeming to hold its breath. I need contact information for one of your employees. A Mr. Reyes. It's a business matter. There was a pause, the sound of someone sitting up straighter. Yes, Ms. Elowen. One moment. In the apartment, Leo had finally slurped the last of his broth. He set his bowl down with a small, careful clink. The phone buzzed across the counter, jittering until it almost fell. Micah caught it with the reflex of a man who'd caught too many things just before they broke. Hello, static. Then a voice he knew from screens, not rooms. Mr. Reyes, this is Isadora Elowen. I believe we should talk. He felt Leo's gaze lift. He heard the radiator exhale. He counted his heartbeat once. A deal, not a miracle, he reminded himself. Don't mistake a hand for a home. About what he asked. On the other end, silence shaped itself into strategy. About how to fix a story, she said. And how not to make it worse. The elevator hummed like a held breath. Micah watched the floor numbers blink, each soft chime counting the distance between bleach and polished wood. His uniform, laundered still thin at the elbows, rustled when he shifted. Left, right, left. Keep the job to keep the boy, he reminded himself, and the doors opened on silence that smelled faintly of citrus and money. Isadora's office didn't creak or cough. It hushed. An air purifier whispered. A clock measured the room in confident ticks. When he stepped onto the rug, it swallowed his steps as if sound itself had been told to behave. Mr. Reyes. Her voice was even the kind of even that comes from practice. She gestured to a chair. Leather sighed when he sat. On the table, a folder waited with the neat menace of a contract. A pen lay across it like a blade, pretending to be helpful. He nodded. Ma'am. Let's be plain, she said. I don't want this to sound like charity. This is design. She slid the folder toward him. Paper whispered against wood. The Elowen Foundation is launching a pilot program, arts-based therapy for neurodivergent youth. I would like you to support Sierra's sessions and consult as we build the curriculum. He didn't touch the pen. I mop floors, he said, not apologizing, just setting the room to the correct temperature. I know rhythm because my wife taught dance and I listened. That's the resume. Her gaze didn't flicker. And yet my daughter responded to you in 10 seconds more than she has to licensed experts in 10 months. A breath. Compensation would be substantial. She named a salary that sounded like a cartoon. Next to it, benefits, health, a commute stipend. Words that paid rent just by being spoken. He heard the radiator at home that never stopped ticking, Leo's fork clinking a chipped bowl, the landlord's key threatening the lock. They're buying your quiet, he thought, and the thought landed with a dull, sensible thud. She continued, precise as a metronome. Terms include background checks, a code of conduct, and a non-disclosure agreement. She tapped a page with one polished nail. You will not discuss Sierra publicly, nor operational details of the program. No media, no social posts, no personal storytelling. I'm protecting my daughter and the company. There it was, the price printed in ink. He lifted the page. Paper rasped. The NDA text ran long like a wall built by lawyers to outlast weather. He imagined words wrapping around his life until even the truth needed a keycard. He set it down. Forgive me, he said, careful, but it sounds like you need a controlled narrative more than a janitor. Silence soaked the carpet for a beat. She laced her fingers, and the tiniest crack in composure made a sound only a man who listened for a living would hear. I need both, she said. The board wants smooth optics. Investors want proof of competence. I, the word caught, then landed, want my daughter whole, and I won't pretend those wants don't collide. He looked at her, really listened. Beneath the granite cadence of CEO, he heard another sound, a mother trying not to beg inside a room that punishes begging. Pride can sound like glass. Mr. Reyes, she said softer, help me make this work. And let me make it worth your time. He pictured Leo's backpack on the floor by the door, the zipper that stuck on the left side, the jar of coins he and his son fed on Fridays like a small animal that refused to grow. He pictured the 2 meals left in the fridge and the Friday after that. Don't sell your boy's dinner to buy someone else's headline, his mind warned. Don't mistake a hand for a home. I can't be part of a photo op, he said. I won't be the man you put next to your daughter to fix the angle. Her expression didn't change, but the pen rolled an inch as if it felt the room shift. Noted, she said. We will shape the program with clinicians and privacy at the center. What we release, if we release anything, will be on our terms. Your terms, he corrected the word quiet, but not meek. She didn't argue. Our terms, she said instead, and the substitution felt deliberate. He stood, folder closed under his palm. I need time. Take it, she said too quickly to be generous. But not much. The story is running with or without us. The elevator swallowed him again. Floors chimed. When the doors opened to street-level noise, the air hit his chest like cold water. A street saxophone threw a bruised note down the block. A bus sighed at the curb. He walked past a bakery and let a second of warm sugar tell him life could be simpler than it is. His phone buzzed, the landlord voice like coins in a jar, reminder, Friday, locks, Monday, a text followed as if punctuation, nothing personal. He stopped under the roar of an elevated train. Steel screamed at steel. Nothing personal, he thought, and pictured Leo's face when he'd asked if strangers would take him. Pride is a fine meal until a child needs breakfast. When he reached the apartment, the door stuck on the swollen frame as always. The radiator answered his arrival with its skittish tick. Leo sat on the rug, the small backpack open a comic, and 2 socks and a flashlight lined up in neat worry. What's the plan? Leo asked without looking up. Eat everything that might go bad, Micah said. Humor as a bandage. Then, and maybe we try something. A different job. Same rules. We keep each other. Leo zipped the bag halfway, then back. Is it the lady from TV? It's a job, Micah said. And it's complicated. Leo nodded the way kids do when they know complication is the adult word for fear. He tapped the floor with 2 fingers, 3 beats. Left, right, left. Micah tapped back. The room loosened a notch. He called the number. The assistant's voice had a professional sheen. 1 moment. The hold music was too cheerful to live. When Isadora came on, her hello was clipped like she'd been holding her breath since he left. "I'll do it," he said. He heard Leo inhale and hold. "But not to help you. A beat. For her," he said. "For the girl." Something unspooled at the edge of her exhale. "Understood," she said. "Come now. We begin as we mean to go on." He tucked the phone into his pocket, kissed Leo's hair strawberry shampoo, and the faint, steady smell of laundry dried on a radiator, and left before the courage could evaporate. Back in the office, the air purifier still whispered the clock still kept its confident time. She slid the contract across again. He skimmed. He didn't fool himself that speed meant control. He signed the employment page. The pen moved smoother than his conscience. The NDA sat beneath his hand heavier than paper should be. From the hallway came a sound he recognized before he named it, the tender click of a key turning inside a tiny mechanism, a music box trying to find its song. Isadora pressed the intercom. "Security," she said, voice steady as glass. "Please prepare the therapy studio." A different voice answered, tinny compliant, "Cameras are already on." Micah's hand paused above the NDA. The pen tip tapped once, twice. A red recording light blinked in his mind like a warning. He looked up. She held his gaze without flinching. Control, not cruelty, that's what he heard underneath. Control that might still crush. "Mr. Reyes?" she asked. He could almost feel the lens on the other side of the door warming to life. Left, right, left, he told his fear. Then he lowered the pen. The therapy studio breathed before anyone did. Vents hummed. A dehumidifier clicked in steady intervals. Somewhere behind the wall, a compressor coughed to life and settled into a low drone. In the corner, a red light glowed, recording its tiny electric buzz like a mosquito you couldn't swat. Micah stepped in and felt the floor yield professional Marley over sprung wood, a surface that forgave mistakes. He smelled lemon cleaner and the faint ghost of resin from someone's old point shoes. Sierra stood near the mirror, not looking at herself. The nanny waited by the door, soft soles squeaking. A security guard shifted radio, muttering weather. Dr. Ahmed, the therapist, nodded, once calm in a way that didn't insist. Outside the glass, a woman in a blazer tapped an iPad. PR. Her pen made brisk, satisfied scratches. Another staffer adjusted a ring light they didn't need because the ceiling already washed the room in soft white. The light's metal squealed a little. The squeal made Sierra's shoulders climb. "Let's begin with the curated playlist," PR called through the intercom, voice cheerful, inoffensive. "Track 1, 80 beats per minute, therapeutic and brand-aligned." Brand-aligned, Micah thought. He kept his hands low and his voice lower. "Hey, Sierra," he said. "You set the pace. I'm just here so the room doesn't echo." Dr. Ahmed tapped her tablet. Music filled the space-bland piano over a metronome that apologized every bar. Sierra rocked an inch, then stiffened. Wrong air. Micah could hear it. The rhythm asked for steps she didn't own. He lifted his fingers and tapped his thigh, 3 gentle knocks. Left, right, left. Sierra's eyes flicked. Her foot found his beat, then lost it when the piano lifted into a hopeful waltz. "Okay," Micah murmured, not to dispute but to adjust. He took a cautious step forward. Open palms, no grab, just invitation. "You can step on my shoe again if you want. It's indestructible." Her sneaker tested the leather of his work shoe. He barely moved. Breath counted time. The metronome barged. Sierra's breath turned thin. From the hallway mic, PR again. "This is good. Natural. Can we angle toward the mirrored wall? Reflection plays? Well." Micah didn't answer. He looked at Dr. Ahmed. The therapist's eyebrows asked a quiet question. "What are you hearing?" she said, for the record, and for the room. "Noise where there should be room," Micah said. He turned to the small cart by the speaker and passed a neatly labeled binder of approved tracks. Wellness piano, acoustic sunrise, calming strings. He could practically hear the stock photo attached to each. He reached into his pocket and stopped. Personal devices weren't allowed to connect. Rules made sense until they didn't. Do we have anything in 3? He asked. Something like a lullaby with stubborn bones. PR flipped her iPad like a dealer. We'll stick to the plan today. Sierra's fingers had found her music box. She turned the key a fraction. The mechanism rasped metal teeth, catching then releasing with the courage of a child, clearing her throat. 2 notes. 3. A melody, fighting its way through oil and time. Micah's chest tightened. He knew that contour. Not exactly, but close enough to light a hallway in his memory where Ava stored steps and stories. He nodded toward Dr. Ahmed. May I? He asked already, moving slow. The therapist watched Sierra, not Micah, and saw the tiny lean forward that meant permission. Yes, she said. Micah stepped to the speaker, scrolled until a track name hid in a list like a shy kid in a classroom, Old Waltz Unmastered, and tapped play. A piano entered, unpolished, a little out of tune, as if someone had recorded it in a living room with the television low in the next room. Sierra's breathing changed. He heard it first, less sawed, more rounded. Her shoulders dropped 1 notch. The nanny's shoe squeaked and then didn't as she remembered to be still. Micah held out his hand, palm up. She set hers on his with the care of a person putting a cup down on a wobbly table. He let her weight decide distance. When the downbeat came, he didn't lead so much as lean. Left, right, left? The floor caught them. Outside, PR's pen stopped. The ring light operator forgot the dimmer. Someone's radio crackled lobby copy check. No one moved. Halfway through the phrase, Sierra's breath hitched and broke. Not a sob, first a gulp, then a sound she'd apparently been saving for a year, maybe longer. Micah felt it before he heard it. Her hand clenched, her forehead found his chest. The piano wavered. The old metronome of grief clicked open. It's okay, he said, voice low and even. You don't have to fix it. You can just let it be loud. She cried then. Not theatrically. The kind that creeps up your throat and empties you privately, even when the world is watching. Her fingers knotted his uniform. He stood steady as furniture and let the room be big enough for her. The red light burned on. Cameras drank it all. PR's pen resumed frantic now. The intercom cackled to life and the cheerful voice came back smoothed into reverence. This is real. If we frame this carefully, it could change the narrative. We have to consider a controlled release blur. Her face protect identity. Let the world see healing. Micah didn't look up. He didn't loosen his hold, but his voice had edges when he spoke. She is not content. He could feel the room bristle. The guard shifted. The radio hissed. The nanny said nothing. Dr. Ahmed said, let's all breathe the way therapists do when they are reminding everyone that oxygen is free and restraint is not. Isadora watched on a live feed in her office, sound overlaid with the quiet click of her own clock. She saw her daughter fold into a man in a faded shirt and knew with a clarity that frightened her that no camera could translate what was happening. The footage would show a narrative. The room held a truth. They were not the same thing. PR's text message lit her screen before anyone knocked. We may have something transformative, it read. Suggest 30-second cut. Tasteful. Emphasize Alawan Foundation's role. This can help investors see heart without chaos. Without chaos, Isadora thought, as if heart ever arrived tidy. Down in the studio, the track ended with a thud of a wrong key, honest as a scraped knee. Silence collected like rainwater. Sierra's breathing slowed into the rhythm of a tired animal finally lying down. Micah eased his hand away an inch at a time so nothing felt like leaving. We're done for today, he said, not asking permission of the cameras. PR stepped in, voice pitched to gratitude. That was beautiful. With your approval, Ms. Alawan, we can craft a message that Stop Micah said, never raising his volume. He looked at the red light. Turn those off. No one moved. The red dot stared back patient as hunger. From the speaker on Isadora's desk, Micah's words arrived without polish. She felt her jaw set. She pressed the intercom. "Kill the cameras," she said. The guard glanced at PR. PR hesitated the length of a headline. The technician's finger hovered. The red light blinked twice and went dark. The room exhaled. Isadora closed the live feed. Her reflection looked back from the black screen, a woman who knew the cost of control and still couldn't pay in clean currency. She reached for her tumbler and found the ice had melted into a ring of quiet water. In the corridor, the woman in the blazer whispered, "We should still have B-cam," to her assistant, and the assistant's eyes flicked left then down to a phone. A file name appeared, session 0222 cam-b.move. A thumb hovered over share. A vibration hummed through the floor elevator cable singing under load. Somewhere, a door latch clicked. The assistant glanced toward the studio, then back to the glowing screen. The thumb began to move. The sound hit first phones, pinging elevator chimes, stacking the espresso machine, hissing like a fuse. By 9:12 a.m., the clip was everywhere, 30 seconds of a blurred little girl folding into a janitor's shirt. No context. A red dot winking in the corner like guilt. Isadora watched once with the volume low. The unmastered piano hissed. A small sob scraped the mic. The edit cut before breath returned. Slack chimed. Her brother called. "This is bad," he said, paper scuffing near the phone. "Activists are on you. Pre-IPO investors hate uncertainty. We turned the cameras off," she said. So someone turned another one on. Then control the damage. Swiss school. Pause the program. Announce privacy. Today. If I send her away to calm men in suits, I become the caricature they already believe she thought. The wall clock clicked a polite threat. Across town, Micah's radiator ticked like a nervous metronome. Morning TV rolled the clip on mute. Leo froze mid-spoon. "Is that her?" "It's her," Micah said. He killed the sound. Silence fell with a lid's soft thud. The phone buzzed. "Vice Principal Harmon. We need to address yesterday's fight. One more, and policy requires CPS notification." Another buzz, his sister breath tight over hospital beeps. "Micah, CPS doesn't read nuance. It reads files, tardy pickups, school incidents, your name and a viral tag. Don't give them a story to write." "I'm careful," he said. Even to himself, it sounded thin. Back at Ilawan, the boardroom performed calm. Coffee lids snapped. The speakerphone breathed. "Acknowledge exploitation concerns PR," said. Voice velveted for crisis. "Center licensed clinicians. Suspend sessions to review. Announce specialized placement overseas. It shows prudence." "Prudence reads like exile," Isadora said. She could hear her therapist's old line in memory. Some people are noise. Some people are room. Right now, the company was both. Legal slid 2 letters across the table. Disability Rights Group, Privacy Clinic. Both allege exploitation, he said. Exposure creates liability. Her brother's tone shifted from counsel to kin. If you won't protect the IPO, protect custody. Public opinion becomes legal filings. If you proceed against advice, I may have to request a guardianship review. He swallowed. "I don't want to." "I will." The word will landed like iron. Down the hall, faint as a thread, she heard the judder of a music box key slipping, trying again. The PR assistant who'd hovered yesterday stood in the corridor with her phone face down. Alerts still thudded through the case. She told herself a kindness awareness drives funding. She told herself a lie intent cancels impact. When press called, she was ready. "Privacy is paramount," she said brightly. "The Foundation is leading with heart." Her hand trembled. By 2, Micah sat in the school office under a buzzing light. A clock performed importance. Leo scuffed his shoe in a slow scrape-scrape. "We value," Leo Harmon said. "We also value safety. Another incident triggers mandatory reporting." "Mandatory?" Micah nodded once. Understood. He touched his son's shoulder. We keep each other. We keep each other. Leo echoed barely above a breath. At 4:03, a protest gathered outside Ilawan. No roar, a determined murmur. Cardboard signs thumped palms. A bullhorn squealed, then found pitch. Children aren't optics, someone called. Autism isn't a brand. Rain started the small insistent kind New York uses to test resolve. Umbrellas popped like opinions. From her window, Isadora watched a news van idle engine rumbling through glass. A sympathetic director texted emergency vote at 5. Recommendation suspend program. Remove Reyes. Announce Swiss plan. Otherwise, we lose the street. She read it twice. Her thumb hovered over reply. In her head, her late husband's voice, keep the beat simple. Make it a home. Her phone vibrated again, Micah. She let it go to voicemail. She needed a mother before she needed a contractor. She typed to her chief of staff, stop all sessions. Send. Downstairs, Dr. Ahmed powered off the sound system with a soft click. Sierra turned the key of her music box until it rasped. The nanny's soul squeaked, then went still. We're done for today, the therapist said gently. Back tomorrow. If they let us, the nanny didn't say. Back in the boardroom, chairs scraped, papers aligned into decision. Legal cleared his throat, vowels sanded, smooth. Motion pause program, pending review. Second motion terminate Reyes's consultancy for cause breach of confidentiality by virtue of association with leaked content. Preventative, not punitive. Preventative, Isadora thought. Like cutting off a limb to stop a rumor from traveling up the bone. She could hear Sierra's first breath after every frightened silence could hear the room when Micah waited instead of fixing. She stared at the table until the wood grain resolved into a path she didn't like. Her brother, we need your vote. She pictured Leo's backpack on a radiator zipper sticking. She pictured 9,000 paychecks thudding into accounts on Fridays. She pictured headlines and handcuffs therapy and theatrics investors and infants. Choose 2, she thought. She hated the math. In the corridor, the PR assistant glanced at her phone again. Bcam upload complete. File name session 802 cam.b.move. A new vibration editor says 30 seconds is perfect. Push now. Her thumb hovered over share. In Isadora's inbox, a subject line popped precise as a gavel termination protocol Reyes. The radiator in her memory ticked. The music box in the next room scraped. The protest's bullhorn squealed and steadied. She stood. The room quieted. I'll go to my daughter, she said, voice steady as glass. Then I'll return and vote. She turned away before anyone could argue. Behind her, the email waited with its clean, merciless grammar. Ahead, down the hall, the key slipped once, twice, then caught. The decision sounded like paper motion second vote, then chair legs and coffee lids, and the speakerphone's last polite breath. Isadora didn't look up. She heard the wall clock tick, and fainter down the hall a music box key scrape trying to catch. She called security. Her voice was steady. Her fingers weren't. Suspend the program. Escort Mr. Reyes to collect his things. No further contact with my daughter. A pause. Static. Yes, ma'am. She dialed Micah. On his end, a radiator ticked. We're pausing, she said, aiming for glass. You're not to see Sierra. It's for safety. Understood, he said, tasting the word. Safety as policy, not safety as breath. The studio corridor hummed with fluorescent light. A guard's radio whispered weather. PR murmured to legal whisper the quiet pleasure of rules. Micah slid his visitor tag across the desk. Plastic made a flat, final sound. He stepped to the doorway for his bag and stopped at the tape line. He didn't speak. Inside the room breathed through vents and the soft click of a dehumidifier. Sierra stood with the nanny and Dr. Ahmed turning the key of her music box in micro-movements, wind-release teeth, catching then slipping. She could read the change in adults' throats. She looked up. Recognition, clean and untroubled, lasted 1 second. The guard moved. The radio hissed. PR's pen clicked. Isadora reached the end of the hall and lifted a hand too late to stop the noise. Sierra's face folded not into tears but into the shape a door makes when it shuts inside a chest. Her fist tightened on the key until it bit. Metal squealed. A crack. The lid popped. The tiny cylinder jumped free and skittered across the floor, pinging off the baseboard with a bright final note. No. Micah breathed the word out before he chose it. Sierra bolted. Left. Right. Small animal fast. She hit the stage storage door. The hinge screamed. She shoved a rolling wardrobe into the gap and threw the top bolt with a sharp snick. Adults became spectators. Key PR hissed. "There's no key for the top," the guard said, rattling the handle. The door thudded. "Miss Elowen," he called too loud, the syllables ricocheting off plywood and canvas. Isadora put her palm to the wood. Cool now. Not for long. She heard Sierra's breathing tilt toward panic-thin inhales a whistle on the way out. Dust climbed. The dehumidifier's click felt obscene. "Call 911, legal said. "Give me 10 seconds, Dr. Ahmed urged. "Sirens will pour gasoline on this." Micah moved without thinking. 2 guards moved faster. Hands on his chest. "You're done here," one said, official high. "Step back." Isadora kept her hand on the door. She turned just enough to see Micah. No pleading, no posture, only stillness as if he were careful not to break something invisible. "Let him try," she said. Ma'am Liability PR hissed the word like steam. "Let him try," Isadora repeated, and the corridor obeyed the density of her voice. Micah knelt by the seam and set his ear to it. He closed his eyes to make the other noise smaller. "Sierra," he said, not loud, not soft true. "It's me. I'm here. You don't have to unlock anything. You don't have to move." A small sob snagged and didn't quite become sound. "Do you hear the building?" he asked. "The vent like a refrigerator at night. Breathe with it. In on the hum. Out on the hum." He tapped 3 times, knuckles light on the floor. "Left, right, left. I'll keep the beat if you want. You don't have to." Her breath caught, stuttered toward his rhythm, and away again, a skittish bird testing a branch. He tapped once more, patient, simple. "You're not in a box," he said. "You're in a room. You can make it bigger with breath." 10 seconds stretched until someone remembered to be human. Behind him, a phone buzzed and went silent. Someone coughed. Even the radio hushed. "Good," he said to a shift in air only he could hear. "If you want, press your hand to the door so I can feel it." He slid his fingers to the bottom gap. Dust kissed skin. For a moment, nothing. Then a pressback small. Steady. "That's you." He said something in his chest, breaking and feeling more whole for it. "If you want to lift the bolt, then push the wardrobe an inch. Just an inch. We'll do it in pieces. Left, right, left." A scrape. Metal sighed. The wardrobe complained. Sierra coughed, the dry, sour sound of dust finding a throat. He tapped softer like a heartbeat under blankets. The wheel rolled a reluctant inch. Another. The bolt gave with a grind that sounded like pain if you didn't know progress. Cool hallway air slipped in. Warm storage air reached out like a tired animal. A small hand slid through the gap, searching anchoring. The door opened 2 inches 3. Sierra's face appeared in a wedge of dim eyes, wide, yes, but not lost. She leaned into the opening as if leaning into a song. "Don't send me away," she said. Not loud, perfectly shaped. The corridor caught it and held it. Even the guard's radio kept still. Isadora's hand fell from the door to her mouth. The sound that escaped her wasn't executive. It was the noise a person makes when love points to the only exit that matters. Micah didn't look up. "Okay," he told Sierra as if the universe might listen to a father's tone. "Okay." He shouldered the wardrobe back an inch at a time, keeping one hand on her hand rhythm steady. When the space was enough, she stepped forward and pressed her temple to his forearm, testing a bridge. Phones down, Isadora said into the air, not looking away from her child. No one argued. Dr. Ahmed crouched, voice like a warm towel. "We're going to the quiet room," she said. "Just you and me and Mom." She glanced at Micah. "And if Mom approves, just the sound of someone waiting outside." Isadora drew a breath that didn't scrape. "Yes," she said. "Consent to sense, not a policy." They moved. Not a parade. A practical migration toward oxygen. The quiet room door closed with a soft thud that meant shelter rather than shut. Micah stayed in the hall shirt, dusty hand imprinted by small knuckles. The guard cleared his throat, powerless now. "Sir, we still have orders, I know," Micah said. He picked up his bag. The strap squeaked. "I'm leaving." The elevator arrived with a mechanical sigh. Inside smelled like Freon and floor wax. A portion of his life had always smelled like that. He laughed once without humor, and the doors cut the sound in half. Isadora sat until Sierra's breath evened and sleep dulled the edges. She watched her daughter's chest rise and fall, a metronome finally set to human time. Dr. Ahmed wrote nothing. Some days, notes are noise. In the service, stairwell pipes pinged. A delivery cart rattled below. The city hummed like an engine too big to turn off. Isadora pressed her forehead to cool paint and let one truth ring louder than the rest. "If she loses one more time," she whispered, "I won't survive this." Her phone vibrated Board Legal Family Press each with a rhythm trying to replace her own. The screen glowed Termination Protocol Reyes. She didn't tap it. She didn't delete it. She let it sit like a live wire, then turned toward the door that led back to the boardroom and a choice no camera could tidy. The studio breathed in countdown sounds, headsets hissing a boom mic, exhaling tape tearing as a tech tucked a lav under Isadora's collar. In the green room, Sierra pressed her thumb into the empty dent where a music box key used to sit, feeling for teeth that weren't there. 60 seconds, the stage manager called, voice bright as chrome. The clock ticked like a second heart. The anchor slid into his hush. "We're honored to have Isadora Ilawan and her daughter Sierra." Applause swelled and settled polite as carpeting. The couch sighed when Isadora sat. Sierra stayed close eyes on the air vent, listening to the room hold its breath. "There's a viral clip," the anchor said gently. "There's outrage. What do you want people to understand?" "Keep breath low," she told herself. "No alibi. No slogan. My daughter is not a brand," she said. "She's not a problem to hide or a miracle to monetize. She's a person. I helped build a system that treated her like a variable. That was wrong." The control room hissed. "Whoa!" The anchor softened the edge. "You mean missteps?" "I mean wrong," she repeated. "We turned therapy into content. We called surveillance safety. We listened to optics more than breath. That ends today." And the janitor he asked. She didn't say Micah's name. She said the truth. A man waited instead of fixing. "My daughter trusted the quiet he made. I can't explain it. I can respect it." Sierra tugged her sleeve. Isadora angled. "Do you want to say something?" she whispered. Sierra tapped the cushion 3 soft knocks. Left, right, left. A ghost of a smile, then gone. "What happens now?" the anchor asked. "We keep her here," Isadora said. "We build with clinicians, not cameras. We open doors to families who can't buy help in a boardroom. And I accept whatever comes from choosing to be her mother first." The red tally light died. Producers exhaled in ratings and risk. Her phone vibrated. "You've spooked the street." Emergency session at 6. Leadership change on the table. She turned the phone face down and walked Sierra out. Microphones squealed, shutters chattered. A driver shut the car door with a padded thud. Inside, insulation made a hush where breath could be counted. Sierra watched raindrops race the glass. Isadora watched her daughter's shoulders rise and fall, a metronome set to human time. After drop-off with the nanny, with Dr. Ahmed, with 2 hands steady on Sierra's back until the room felt like room again, Isadora said, "East 117th." The driver didn't ask why. The building smelled like cooked onions and old mail. The elevator wheezed. She took the stairs. Outside Micah's door, she listened, radiator ticking TV, laughing wrong, a baby hiccuping down the hall. She knocked. The chain slid. Leo's eye appeared bright and careful. "Is your dad home?" she asked, tasting humility like a new language. "Are you going to take him again?" he asked, breath clinking the chain. "No," she said, letting the word be heavy. Footsteps. The chain lifted. Micah stood there, clean shirt, thin elbows, gaze that measured like a carpenter's level. "Leo, homework," he said. Pencils clacked. Paper whispered. The apartment held its noises close, faucet drip, curtain ring scrape upstairs, heels counting time. Isadora stood, then sat, hands folded to keep them from trying to control the air. "I watched the leak," she said. "I turned off the cameras. I didn't stop the room from becoming a headline. That's on me. And the job he asked, even. I paused the program to stop harm, not hide it. Harm still happened. Today, I said that out loud. On air. You went on TV. I told them she isn't a brand. I told them we did it wrong. What do you want from me?" "To try again," she said. "Not soft. True. Different terms. A real clinical team. No PR fishing in a child's tears. Doors open to families without my last name." He rubbed a thumb across an old callus counting past bills and broken weeks. He looked at Leo. "What's our rule?" "We keep each other." The boy said, pencil-scratching eyes, checking if she understood the grammar. "I don't gamble with him," Micah said. "If I step into your world, it can't eat ours." "It won't," she said too quickly, then slowed. "You set terms. You say no when cameras creep. You tell me when fear is making policy. I listen." Her phone trembled on the table, a small drum. She flipped it. Emergency agenda. CEO transition. Below it, custody review inquiry, draft. Her brother again. "Give them Reyes and the program. Keep the chair. Be practical." Her pulse rose until it blurred the radiator. Mother first, she told herself. Then the rest. "I can't hand you safety wrapped in lawyers," she said. "I can give you my word, my signature and my job, if that's the price." He listened to the kettle click off by itself, to hallway voices melting from argument to laughter. He tapped the table 3 times, left, right, left, settling the room. "Say what you want from me." "Come to the board tomorrow," she said. "Tell them the room is not a PR strategy. Say what the work costs and why it matters. Set the rules in front of the people who can break them." Leo glanced up as if the apartment had tilted. Micah kept his eyes on her. "If I talk," he said, "they'll look for a way to make me the problem. And if anything goes wrong with Sierra, they'll make me the culprit. They already plan to make you the solution they'll fire," she said. "Stand where they can't pretend not to hear you." His phone hummed. Hers hummed. The landline, long useless, found its ring. 3 urgent sounds overlapping. A text flashed on Isadora's screen from an unknown number. "If you walk this path, you walk it without a title." She met Micah's eyes. "Well." He opened his mouth and a hard knock shook the door. Leo flinched. The radiator ticked faster. In the hallway, footsteps shuffled. A paper slid under the door with a dry whisper. Micah bent, lifted the page. The ink smelled sharp. He read once, his jaw set. "What is it?" Isadora asked. He held the notice where she could hear the words. "Landlord," he said. "Locks change Monday." Silence pooled deep enough to see the bottom. Then Leo tapped the table 3 small beats, asking for a rhythm that wouldn't abandon him. Left, right, left. Isadora answered with her knuckles gentle on the wood. "Tomorrow," she said to the page, to the boy, to the storm gathering around all of them. "We rewrite this with the room, not the cameras." And in the hall someone knocked again, louder. The second knock wasn't angry. It was official, 3 hard beats, evenly spaced. Micah opened to a woman in a dark coat whose badge clicked when she breathed. "Chief of Staff for Ms. Allowan," she said. "If you're willing, the board wants to hear you at 9. Governance, not PR." She glanced at the eviction notice. We can arrange a car. We can't arrange your rent. He looked at Isadora. She didn't blink. I'll come, he said, but I'm not a prop. Understood. Bring your terms. Morning arrived with tires and puddles and a car door thud. The boardroom hummed at a different pitch, HVAC steady traffic a polite sigh. Tablets lit, a microphone blinked. Micah stood at the end of the table in a shirt that had been good 2 owners ago. He set down a thin folder hand-sketched floor plans, a 1-page outline, a list titled, What I Will Not Do. Isadora spoke the first voice controlled enough to slow the room. We're here because outcomes matter, not optics. She nodded to him. Mr. Reyes. He took one breath he could afford. I clean floors, he said. I've framed drywall. I've counted steps for kids who needed a floor that listened. I'm not a therapist. I'm a dad who learned to hear before he fixes. A director with a tie like a gavel leaned back. Credentials, degrees, licenses. Anything portable. I have a boy who went back to class after wanting to quit, Micah said. I have a girl who said, don't send me away, after 3 years of saving words to survive. If that's not enough to make you sit down and listen, no framed paper will fix it. Chairs shifted the first honest sound the room had made. He opened his folder. Terms, he said. No cameras where kids work. Not tasteful ones. None. No press in the hall pretending to be air. Clinicians in charge, real ones with names. I am support, not savior. And if this exists, it exists for families who can't pay to park here. A younger director's pen stopped. The CFO cleared his throat. Funding Isadora leaned in. If the board won't commit capital, I'll seed a separate fund with my stake. Arm's-length foundation, independent oversight, audits, outcomes. Legal slid a memo. Governance is possible, he said. Exposure is the concern. Another incident hurt or alleged, and liability blooms. People aren't liabilities, Isadora said. We'll build walls that protect children, not cameras. Another director tapped a tablet. What about this man's profile? He asked, almost kind. Late pickups, a school altercation, internet attention. Would putting him on our floor invite scrutiny we can't weather? You're asking if being poor makes me dangerous, Micah said. It makes me visible when things go wrong. That's different. Silence spread. For once, it felt like learning. The COO rested her pen. Say we agree. What does the first month look like? A small cohort, Micah said. 4 kids. Sessions with Dr. Ahmed in a room without microphones. Parents in the building. We start by giving them a beat they can keep. Not pretty. True. He tapped the tabletop 3 times left, right, left before realizing he'd done it. He didn't apologize. A director who hadn't spoken raised his eyes. I watched the clip, he said. I hated it. It felt like theft. But I also saw a child breathe. If we do this, we do it because of that breath, not because the market rewards contrition. PR invited but quiet found her voice. We can't ignore the market, she said. But we can choose to speak last. The chair folded hands. Motion pilot program, the COO said. 4-case cohort, no cameras, clinical lead reports to an independent panel. Funding restricted audited. Communications none until outcomes exist. Second came from the end of the table. Before we vote, a director in Navy said to Micah one more question. Would you sign a waiver acknowledging personal responsibility if, God forbid, something goes wrong, standard practice? Micah thought of forms that make poor people choose between help and dignity. He thought of CPS of locks changed on Mondays of Leo packing a flashlight like a passport. I'll sign a policy that protects children and includes me, he said. I won't sign one that makes me the fall guy for systems that fail. Isadora spoke before anyone else. We will not outsource risk to the lowest paid person in the room, she said. Draft a waiver that shares responsibility proportionally. If that threatens my chair, so be it. Quiet traveled around the table like weather. The chair looked at faces, then at letters from activists, then at rain ticking the windows. All in favor, he said. Hands rose. Not all. Enough. Micah exhaled, a body remembering itself. We begin. Monday, the chair said. Keep us out of headlines. Keep children safe. Report in 30 days. Micah gathered his thin folder. The microphone's red eye went dark. At the end, a director stopped him. One more thing, the man said, almost apologetic. Child Protective Services called for routine follow-up on an anonymous concern school and online mentions. They asked for your number. We didn't give it. A subway shrieked somewhere under the city imagined, but he heard it. If they knock, he said, I'll be home. Isadora stood. You won't be alone. The door opened on a hallway that already knew about the vote. News travels by shoe squeak and breath. Micah stepped into the muted roar of the building and felt the day tilt toward work instead of worry. His phone buzzed 2 vibrations close together like a heart startled awake. Unknown number, this is CPS. We'd like to schedule a home visit. He looked up and met Isadora's eyes. Monday, the chair had said. Today, CPS wrote. Left. Right. Left, he thought. Let's go, he said. The knock was soft, but official too, quick one slow. Micah opened to a woman with a canvas tote and a mug that smelled like cinnamon. Her shoes squeaked once on the hall's waxed linoleum, then remembered to be quiet. Child Protective Services, she said, voice even practiced. I'm Ms. Rios. We had a report tied to tardy pickups and a school altercation. I'd like to talk and look around. The radiator ticked its nervous metronome. Leo sat at the table pencil scratching homework. The TV was off. The kettle clicked as it cooled. Micah stepped back. Come in. Rios didn't perform suspicion. She performed attention. Her pen cap tapped the notebook twice when she settled. Tell me about your routines, she said. Mornings, evenings. Who's here? Micah pointed to a paper taped on the fridge. Our rules, he said. The paper rustled in his fingers as he read, No wandering. We keep each other. 3 taps means breathe. He tapped the table left, right, left. Leo tapped back without looking up. Rios noticed. That yours? She asked. It works, Micah said. She walked the small apartment. The bathroom fan hummed. A drawer stuck and then gave. Clean clothes folded on a chair. Bunk bed made in that way where a child's best effort leaves a wrinkle like a signature. Tardiness, she asked, reading from the form. I ride trains, he said. I pick up shifts. I'm fixing it. Fight at school. Someone said what they always say, Micah answered. My kid held his ground. He shouldn't have hit. He knows. Rios looked at Leo, who looked back. What's your rule? She asked him. We keep each other, he said. His voice didn't shake. Her pen scratched. She sniffed the air coffee and soap and radiator heat. I'll file a routine follow-up, she said. You'll get a letter. Keep documenting. Show up on time. And if anyone asks you for statements about a rich family, say no. We've been saying no, Micah said. Rios slid a card across the table. It made a small democratic sound. Call if anyone stops listening to you, she said, and left with a soft squeak and a cinnamon draft. By Saturday, the pilot had a room. Not a pristine studio, a community center gym that smelled like varnish and peeled oranges. Folding chairs scraped, a vending machine coughed a plastic bottle down the chute. A volunteer set out paper cups. Ice sang against the cooler's sides. 4 families came. A boy in noise-canceling headphones drummed his palm on his mother's sleeve. A girl counted ceiling tiles. A teenager paced exactly 12 steps, paused, then paced back. Parents carried their wariness like thick coats ready to keep them on. Dr. Ahmed greeted each person by name voice, intentionally boring. Boring meant safe. Micah rolled the portable speaker in. The wheels squeaked. He loved the honesty of that sound. Sierra and Leo arrived together, sneakers whispering on the floor. Sierra held the repaired music box lid, snug cylinder reset. She turned the key 1 notch, then let it be. Leo bumped her shoulder with a courage that looked like shyness. A father stepped up to Micah, arms crossed like scaffolding. "My kid can't dance," he said. "He doesn't do stage. We're not here to dance like anyone," Micah said. "We're here to give the room a beat it can hold." "That's supposed to mean something," the man asked. "It means we don't make your kid smaller to fit the song," Micah answered. "We make the song bigger." The father snorted. "We'll see." Micah didn't pitch back. He looked at Sierra. "You want to start us off?" he asked. She nodded once. He watched her set her hand to the floor tap 3 times, left, right, left, and saw 3 heads turn because something about that simple count made space where there had been none. They began with breath. In on the hum of the old metal lights, out on the soda machine's sleepy compressor. Micah played a piano track that wasn't pretty, just honest notes that sounded like a living room where someone forgot to switch off the TV. Kids moved how their bodies wanted, a rocking, a sway, a stomp. A boy banged the wall twice. Sierra walked over and tapped the cinder block next to him, the same rhythm, palm to grit. He looked at her hand. He changed his hits to her beat. Not pretty. True. A mother murmured, "He's in half," to herself. The father, who'd challenged Micah, breathed out something that wasn't a laugh but wasn't a scoff anymore. At the edge of the room, Isadora sat in the last chair jeans and a plain sweater, hair pulled back. No makeup, no mic. Her brother slid into the chair beside her, his briefcase opening with a soft click. He handed her an envelope. "Board decision," he whispered. "Pilot approved. Independent oversight. Your chair remains for now." She exhaled in account she didn't let the room hear. For now was a rhythm she understood. She watched Sierra set her hand lightly on another child's forearm, an invitation instead of a demand. She watched Micah wait, and then test a tiny lead, and then wait again. She let herself hope carefully. Half an hour in, they shifted from individual beats to a circle. Dr. Ahmed's voice guided without glitter. "If your hands don't want to clap, tap your shoe. If your shoe doesn't want to tap, nod. If your body only wants to breathe, breathe." Paper cups crinkled. Someone's bracelet chimed on the offbeat. Micah called to the pacing teen. 12 steps, he asked. 12, the boy said, not stopping. "Give us your 12, Micah said. "We'll meet you on 3. The boy's feet mapped the gym line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Sierra counted under her breath. Leo echoed. The circle caught the pattern and made room for it. In that borrowed space, parents' shoulders settled a notch the way a city quiets when a storm decides to pass. At the back, Isadora's brother leaned forward. "You did this without a press release," he said. "The market will still punish you." "The market doesn't sleep here," she said. "She does." He nodded, something warm flickering through the lawyer. "Keep the guardrails. Keep the receipts. I can defend that." By the final track, the gym sounded like ordinary joy. Shoe scuffs, a shy laugh, a soda, hiss, a whispered look at you into a child's hair. No applause when they finished. Just breath. Micah let the last chord die ugly. Honest endings don't resolve. "Same time next week," Dr. Ahmed said. Parents collected coats, kids kept tapping. The father, who'd crossed his arms earlier, uncrossed them now, then stuck out a hand. The shake was awkward and sincere. "Okay," he muttered. "Bigger song." Outside, the sky spat a cold mist. Isadora stood under it with Micah while Sierra walked with Leo to the vending machine and debated orange versus grape like diplomats. "My brother says the chair is safe for now," she said. "Rent isn't." Micah said, not accusing, not fishing. "I know," she said. She pulled a folded paper from her pocket, an agreement with the community center for a year of space already signed, already paid for, out of her own account. "I can't solve Monday. I can make next Saturday real." He took the paper and heard it as a sound, not charity, not debt. A path being set down, one plank at a time. They rode the subway back downtown, standing hands looped on the same pole, the train humming a note that threaded through bones. An older woman looked Micah over, then Isadora, then the kids. "You people do a lot of overtime?" she asked, not unkind, just curious as rent. "Trying to," Micah said. "Good," she answered, and the car rocked and the city kept its beat. At his building, the super leaned out, cigarette hissing in the rain. "Friday," he said. "You know." "I know," Micah said, and Leo's hand tightened in his. "We keep each other," he murmured. "We keep each other," Leo said back. Micah's phone buzzed as they climbed the stairs, two quick, one slow. A text from CPS follow-up scheduled Monday 9 a.m., same hour as the pilot's second session. He reached the landing and looked at Isadora, who had paused 2 steps below, listening to the radiator tick through the thin door, listening to choices gather in the hall like weather. "Both," she said, answering the question he hadn't asked. "We'll cover the session. You keep your home." "Left," Leo said. "Right," Sierra answered, unexpected and sure. Left, Micah finished, and somewhere in the building a music box found one clean note and let it ring. A year later, the bell over the second-floor door rang a small tin note. Moving Voices was hand-painted on the glass. Inside floorboards side a window fan thudded when wind changed and the radiator clicked a soft metronome. Somewhere a music box tried one clean note and let it hang. Micah arrived, early key scratching the lock toolbox, tapping his knee. He palmed a seam he'd sanded. "Hold," he told the floor. The portable speaker crackled once and settled. Parents drifted in shoes, scuffing jackets, whispering air warming with detergent and rain. Dr. Ahmed checked names with the calm tick of an old clock. Water's there. Bathrooms down the hall. Nothing to prove here. Sierra came with Leo sneakers soft against wood. She carried the repaired music box the way some carry photographs, close, not fragile. She twisted the key 1 notch and saved the melody. Leo bumped her shoulder, and she bumped back their small language of taps and breath. Group A circle Micah called, aiming to be heard without telling anyone what to be. A new boy stood at the edge, fists tight, eyes on the cinder-block wall. 3 quick thumps rattled from his knuckles, anger asking for a job. Sierra pressed her palm to the wall beside his and matched his rhythm, then softened it, then showed him the space between thumps. "Left," she murmured. He hesitated. "Left," he echoed, surprised to find the word. "Right," she added. He nodded, and Micah felt the room widen a notch. The first track wasn't pretty, a slightly out-of-tune piano with a living room hum underneath the old fan thudding on the offbeat. Kids swayed, paced lay on their backs, and counted ceiling panels, whatever made the world less sharp. Parents breathed like they had been practicing in secret all year. A father who once crossed his arms now clapped in his lap where only his son could see. A teenager took 12 steps, turned, and took 12 back. "Give us your 12, Micah said. "We'll meet you on 3. The circle caught him, missed, once laughed, caught again. Isadora came a little late on purpose, the bell apologizing for her timing. Jean's rain-damp hair, 2 pizza boxes, a bag of plates. Truce offering, she told the room, breath bright. No cameras, only oregano and the fizz of soda. Leo took the boxes like a ceremony. "She's getting better at not burning toast," he announced. Sierra rolled her eyes and tapped the table 3 times, left, right, left. He answered the same. Between tracks, the room sounded like ordinary life, the rattle of a cart in the hall, a baby's soft complaint, a zipper's stubborn rasp. Isadora passed plates, laughed when cups stuck bent to hear a mother whisper thanks into pizza steam. The old armor she used to wear stayed home. By the 3rd piece, the new boy had turned from the wall. Sierra gave him the music box. He held it like a riddle and turned the key a fraction. A small tune crawled out, real and a little brave. He smiled at the floor, then at Sierra the way people do when their body recognizes a room as safe. After break, they made the big circle. "If your hands don't want to clap, tap your shoe," Micah said. "If your shoe doesn't want to tap, nod. If your body only wants to breathe, breathe. Everything counts." Shoes scuffed. A bracelet chimed. Someone's laughter bounced off the ceiling and came back softer. The final track ended without a clean resolve. He let the hum settle into the radiator's click. Silence answered, full of work done. Sierra crossed to the new boy. Next week she asked a two-note song. He nodded so hard his headphone pad squeaked. Next week. Parents gathered coats, kids kept tapping, Rain drummed the windows with small busy hands. At the table, Isadora stacked cups with the competence of a woman who'd stopped apologizing for showing up late and started showing up often. Micah wiped the floor with the calm pride of a man who owned nothing here and belonged anyway. They looked up at the same time. No script, no deal terms, just the good fatigue of people who had chosen the same room for the same reasons. Rent, she asked quietly, practical as a beat. On time, he said. Mostly. Good, she answered. Bored, he asked. Still letting me dance, she said, making a face that earned its laugh. One step at a time. Leo and Sierra arrived smelling like rain and floor wax. We're going to teach Mrs. Alvarez's dog 3 beats, Leo announced. He already knows sit, so he's basically an artist. Left Sierra said, deadpan. Right, Leo replied. Left Micah finished, and 4 knuckles tapped the table in the rhythm that had carried them across a year. They closed up. The bell gave its tin farewell. The stairwell echoed with sneaker squeaks and the city's deep hum. On the sidewalk, a bus sighed. A bike bell trilled like punctuation. Sierra turned the key of the music box one last notch. A clean note rose into the damp air and hovered. She didn't rush it. She let it be exactly as long as it wanted. Micah offered his hand palm up the way he had the first night in a glass room that thought it was bigger than people. If you step on my shoe, he said to Sierra, to Leo, to Isadora, and without meaning to anyone listening from a window above, I won't tell anyone. Sierra set her sneaker on his toe. Leo did too, laughing into his sleeve. Isadora shook her head, then stepped closer until the 4 of them made a lopsided square on wet concrete counting breath more than time. Left, right, left. In a city that measured worth in louder ways, a small room upstairs kept its own beat, and a girl kept dancing. If you're still here, take 1 slow breath with me, in and out. Tonight's story wasn't about perfection. It was about small rooms that learn to breathe, about hands that wait, instead of fixing about a rhythm simple enough to hold left, right, left. If you've lived a moment like this, raising a child in a loud world, fighting for dignity at work, choosing love over optics, tell us. Share your story in the comments. What did it sound like? What helped you keep the beat when everything felt off tempo? And I'd love to know where you're listening from. Type your city or country below. Our little circle reaches farther than we think, and it matters to hear each other across the map. If this touched you, do 3 small taps for us like the music box. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on the bell so you don't miss the next chapter. Share this video with one person who needs a softer room tonight. Remember the promise from our characters. We keep each other. Maybe that's all any of us can do, offer a steady hand, make space for breath, and invite someone to step on our shoe when the floor feels unsteady. Thank you for spending your time here. Thank you for listening with your heart. Until the next story, keep your rhythm, keep your hope, left, right, left.